This week's channel message from the angels is a two-part message. It's happening this week and then next week. I'll give you the second half, specifically about uh, the change in human consciousness. It gives us way better of an understanding of exactly what's happening. What is it that's shifting? How is it shifting? What are we moving away from and into? Way more clear than I have ever heard it before. So I'm super excited to share this with you guys. So welcome back to the channel. And for those of you who have not been here before, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel and I channel from the angelic realm. I do that by raising my awareness up as high as I can go. I go a little higher. The messages come through. I transcribe them and I share them here with you guys on YouTube. So with that, I'm going to get right into the message because I give a little intro at the start. So you guys know, I just got back from leading the retreat for the Circle of 12. If you guys remember, back in January, I started a program called the Circle of 12, and it culminated after everybody had done a ton of individual work, and everything culminated this past weekend in a big retreat. And this group was working in tandem with my other group, which is called the Golden Circle. And I now understand how those two pieces fit together. And in the retreat this weekend, a group of angels came through that I don't normally channel. They were introduced to us and were given permission by my usual group of angels to come in and speak to us. And they gave us a really clear understanding of when we talk about ascension and that we're all changing. They were explaining to us exactly what it is, like what is happening, and it's specifically to the structure of human consciousness. And it's like, it's so cool that I had to share it with you guys. So I transcribed it and I have it here for you to tell you guys about it, because it's really cool. And okay, so there's the other thing I wanted to share with you, which was really interesting, which was the understanding I have now about how these two groups fit together. And I knew at the beginning, I knew that the angels form these structures and these circles that I've been working with, where yes, there's a bunch of individual healing that happens, but there's also the group serves as a portal to bring through energies to the planet and to help heal the planet and to help heal humanity, right? The angels are using it as a structure, an energetic structure that they create, which is so amazing. And there was these two that were fitting together. And I understood that one was going to be embodying feminine energy. The other one was going to be embodying masculine energy. And so now I'm understanding that the overall thing that was just worked on, which I think is so relevant for all of us to understand what we're going through and what we're heading into. And this is so important, is what is it that we need to be holding right now? The Golden Circle was holding this energy of opening, of basically unpacking or unloading, emptying yourself, and then being in that space, that sort of liminal space of in between, and recognizing like that was okay, like being in a space of openness and of readiness and expectation, but just totally open. And this idea of letting go and releasing. And they brought us through sort of all the understanding of like how this is happening so much on the planet, how people being uprooted. Think about like, refugees in Ukraine and all this kind of stuff, where there's this sense of letting go and releasing, and then just being in this sort of this liminal state of undefined. And think about what that is. It is a state of receptivity, which is feminine energy. So then the second group comes in and they're holding the masculine side, and they're holding this energy around getting to a space of, it's really the best way to describe it is sort of a dharmic consciousness, getting to a space of riding a precipice of potential is how I would describe it. And this message describes it really, really well. But it's these two pieces together. It's first the sort of the emptying out and the being receptive, and then it is embodying this potential. And the potential is about not controlling. It's about allowing. And you know how many times they've been talking to us about that? How many times have the angels said, allow, right? This is what it's about. So this is such an exciting message, because I feel like we're getting so much clarity. So, all right, so I am going to dig in, and you're saying, so amazing, the willingness to share with us. And I am so thankful that you guys are here to hear this, because I feel like these kind of messages, that they are so important and so impactful, that I want to share them with as many people who are interested and ready and willing to embrace them. So thank you guys so much for being part of this. I really appreciate it. So, okay, are you ready? Let's dig in. So the first part of this, like I said, I broke this into 2 bits. So the first half of this we'll talk about today, and then the next half we'll talk about it next Friday. So the first part of this is this group of angels is coming in and telling us who they are. And there was parts of this. This is an excerpt of the full channeling because I'm bringing in sort of the relevant parts. There was parts I can't share because there was healing and all kinds of stuff that happened that there has to be a process to go through in order to do that. So I can't share that here. But so no, this is an excerpt, but I think it's the piece that's going to be most relevant for all of us. So they start out, they tell us who they are. They say, a new awakening has brought us in. We are angels of another time and place, a strain you are not reckoning. A space between us exists normally. We are outside of the sphere. The angels you are used to seeing are usually from here. They are tied to this existence, to yourselves and the school. And by that, they mean the Earth School. We are not them. We are capable of joining you with permission only. We are from a space, a place apart from here, a different sphere, another time, a difference. So, and they speak pretty clearly, really, through the whole thing. It's different from the angels I normally channel. So I'm going to occasionally go in and explain certain parts. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And, but I'm going to go through and read it fairly clearly because I think it's pretty clear. All right. So basically they're saying they're not from the Earth School. And that is something I should explain is that the angels we typically know are inside the Earth School, and the Earth School is bound by the concept of free will. So the angels are bound by a very specific set of rules, which is that they're not allowed to interfere with us, that we're supposed to make our own decisions, that they can help us when we invite them. Like that's why we always say that you have to speak out loud when you want your angels to jump in. And and here they're saying that this group of angels is not part of that, that they're outside of the Earth School. So there are angels that have nothing to do with Earth. So this group is outside of our normal group that are here, that are helping us, that we're familiar with, and who follow the rules of Earth. These angels don't follow that same set of rules. So they go on to say, there is beyond yourselves many realms of living, and we are of them, of a place far from here. We arrive to hold and tell of what is coming, of how you'll live, how you'll dwell, of what will chime your living, how you will feel in this awakening, what it spells to overcome, how you're growing to go on living. We will say this all to unfold for you now a sense of your own beginning. So this is why they're here, to talk to us about what's coming and about how we're changing. So they go on to say, we are here, invited now by they who form our brethren, for those who stay and guard yourselves and live here among yourselves. We are here to say our part, to dwell with you for just this time, to stay and speak, for all you are invites us at this time. We will stay, we will speak, we will share, you will know, and we will go. So they're saying this is a temporary thing. They are not normally an accessible group who's part of, like I said, part of Earth, that they're just coming in to share this specific information. We are tall, endowed differently from angels you have known. We wear a belt encrusted with a jewel of a different sort. It carries within it a shadowy sort, the whether or not we tell. It is a power we hold above yourselves to guard you from ourselves. It is a space within us we would occupy should we delve in deeper to know you well. It keeps us apart and shades you from the realms beyond this earth. We wear it like a belt of stars, an identifying mark to prove we are not of this earth, that you are not a part. But we are here. We are pleased to stay. We wish to begin to speak of this, to tell you now what we've foreseen. So they're telling us that they are, their role is to guard the earth from ourselves. They're saying from other angels and from all other beings, from basically from interference. So the angels that are part of the Earth School, like I mentioned, are tied and have to obey the rules that we've agreed on, that we're doing this sort of experiment of seeing if we can work our way towards our own awakening. But there are other angels out there and other beings out there that say, well, you know what, we don't agree with that. We think we should be able to go in and interfere and help them and guide them and be more visible. These angels are part of the group that prevent that from happening, who are basically guarding this experiment, helping us to stay within the rules that we've agreed on in the Earth School. So that's what they're talking about here. That's kind of, they're defining who they are, why they're not normally here. They're kind of in an outer layer out there guarding the Earth School, keeping it protected from anyone who would want to come in and not obey the rules and do it differently. Even if they have positive intent, they're not allowed to come without permission, right? Unless they're meant to follow the rules. So, and they're saying they don't normally come unless they have permission, in which case they've been given permission. So that's why they're coming in and sharing this message. All right, so here's where they start in with their explanation of what is happening to us. What does ascension mean? What is it? How is it that we're changing? So, all right, they go on to say, we see you as a race of peoples, of beings that are forming, that are not yet begun the journey of what you are, that you are forming anew in this time coming, that there is within you a blueprint of passage, a way of knowing about yourself. But this is not something you are familiar with. This concept of yourselves as beings who are performing a dance given to yourselves. You think of life as something planned by your own living. So this is interesting. So they're talking about, and this gets to, through this whole thing, you'll see that what we are fighting against is our sense of control. And what we are moving into is a sense of allowing. And so they're saying that we are unfamiliar with this idea of ourselves as people who are dancing, performing a dance that we've been given, that we are here, that we are existing in a life and we're meant to ride and flow through this life. Instead, we are tied to this idea of ourselves as creators, which we are creators. Life moves through us, but we want to create the life, right? We want to have expectations and we form ideas and we get attached to things, right? And so we think of life as something planned by our own living. So they go on to explain. Within this time, you are performing a dance of the ascendants to raise yourselves into a state of communion outside of Earth, a space where planned invaders come, beings with other missions who will share themselves and instruct you now and help you with your vision. This will come in time, not just yet, but not far either. It is welcoming in this next reign of what we have been planning. So they're saying, I think, like I said, I think this group of angels, it's just they're a little easier to understand. And they say, so they're saying we're performing a dance of ascendance. So this is what's going on: is we are being carried along this wave of ascendance, right? It's happening to us, around us, through us. It's happening everywhere, and we are experiencing it. And they're saying that the goal of this, right, it's going, that sort of the next stage of this is it's bringing us into a state of communication with beings outside of Earth. So lots of you have heard that there's, loads of off-planet beings, or however you want to describe them, ETs, whatever you want to call them, that are sort of just outside of Earth, who are and who, some of them are in communication with a lot of channels who are channeling them right now. And that they are waiting, and they will, according to this, they're saying they will come and they're going to help us, and we're going to be learning a lot from them going forward, but not yet. We're not quite there yet. So super interesting confirmation of that. They go on to say, for yourselves, we offer so much more. The understanding that's been given, this time and place that you've been in a banquet for your understanding. You have learned so much, many of you, and imparted to us this vision of what it is to be apart from self, to live enshrouded in a veil, and to see the world as what it's not, a comparative understanding, to feel instead this will be your lot. So here we go. So they're getting into the meat here. So they're saying that this experience we've been through, this existing state of consciousness that we're rising out of, has been living behind the veil, where we've been experiencing things based on comparison, by what they're not. And they're saying that that the whole world has benefited, not the whole world, the whole universe has benefited from this, from watching us, from our experience of living so apart from ourselves, of living behind a veil, of experiencing this state of separation. That this has been super instructive and helpful for us in our process of growth, but it's also been really instructive to all of the beings who've been watching us, which is interesting. And they're saying instead, now here's the shift. So we've been in this state of comparative understanding, and we're moving, they said, to feel instead, this will be your lot. So we're moving from a state where we understand things through comparison, into a state where we understand things through feeling. And they're going to go on to give us a lot more understanding of this. And Donna's saying, who did these angels get permission from to come and deliver this message? The Earth School angels, from those of us who were in the circle, but most specifically from the angels that I normally channel. So they were the ones who basically said, yep, this is fine. They're able to come. And then we in the circle gave them permission. And the part that I'm sharing is, like I said, there's other things that happen in terms of healing and stuff like that I can't share, just because it would be too difficult in a recorded format. But here I'm able to share this part, which is pretty cool. Does that help to answer? So, okay. So then they go on to say, there is a contrast here we would point out for your understanding that in New Earth, as it becomes, you will feel your contrast differently. That in this time of your arrival, up until the now, you have seen the world through the lens of contrast. To see things as a category, to bunch things into similarity and compare things for understanding, to define yourselves in this breach. And in this new world coming, this will change. Your focus takes on new meaning. You see the world through feeling. You feel it as its meaning. There is no need to put a name to categorize as you've been doing. Instead, you feel an essence, an inner knowing. And this is different, a strategic difference to your template. The very fabric of yourselves evolve into this opening. So this is a huge shift. And I think they say at one point that it's like, this is really difficult for us to comprehend the vastness of this shift, how this shift away from comparison in terms of understanding into feeling, how it ripples through our entire experience. So here they're saying, let's just break it down a little bit, that we've been seeing through a lens of contrast. So this is the way I like to understand this, is that if you are trying to make a choice, if you're trying to decide between two things, say you're trying to pick a car and you have to choose between two cars. And if you were trying to do this without the aid of contrast, you would have to learn everything there is about those two cars. You'd have to learn like how they were built and who made them and who was the factory worker who screwed on this particular bolt, just to know, is it better or worse than the other one? Like you'd have to know everything about how the engine worked, everything about the safety systems, because you'd have to really have a deep understanding of what this car is. And then you'd have to really deep understanding of what the other car is. And then between those two, you would have to choose which one was the best fit for your needs. But instead of doing that, now you have the ability to just compare one thing to the other, and you don't have to compare things at every single level. You can compare things that are observable, that are easily accessible to you. So you can say, well, this one's red and this one's blue, and I like red better. You can say this one comes with a warranty and this one doesn't. I want a warranty. So it's you choose the things that are visible, that are on the surface, that are accessible, that give you the emotional response you need to make the choice. So this is how we do things today. They're saying this is shifting, this is changing, and that now we're going straight to feeling, and the feeling comes in differently. And Rebecca's saying, you will feel your contrast differently and define yourselves within this breach. Wow. I wonder if we as empaths have been feeling in this way in preparation. I definitely think so. Yes, I would say yes. Like you guys have been like basically holding this energy. And which is wild. Like we've been talking all this time, like, oh, we're holding the light. What have we been holding? It's light. Yes, we're a higher light. We're like, yes, as coming in as a light worker, you're holding the light, anchoring a higher vibration, a higher frequency. Yes, but also this new way of being. Like so cool, right? So cool. All right. So, and there's more to it, right? We're learning how to do this. So there's room for us to take what we know already and to grow into this, to really hold it. So they go into that in more description. All right. They say it is a change of your very structure of the mind in which you've been living. The current understanding of the human being is one of contrast, and it states within the self that there are states of difference, that one must rise, one must fall. There cannot be for all the same. There must be difference, we say, in the state of mind you have been living. This departs as new knowledge rises in the self, to feel your way, to understand through heartful living, to feel the self. So they're just really explaining this is the difference. We're moving from the state where, and I love that they get explicit. They say that if we're living in a way that if our consciousness is structured to understand things through difference, then we are projecting difference out into the world. And we're having to say through that difference that there has to be the haves and the have-nots, right? So this, like, just imagine the ripple effect of this. If we get away from the concept of our whole structure of our mind and how we think, if we get away from contrast, then contrast doesn't have to exist. Wow, right? Wow. And that explains so much about how they're talking about how we could move into like world peace. Like this is how. So okay. So next paragraph. It has been spoken in your prior session. Yes, so they're talking about some other things that came up during the retreat here. It has been spoken in your prior session. Yes, your fragrance has been spoken of. So that when they say fragrance, they mean like your energy, like your particular, the song of your soul. What is the song of your soul? So the song of your soul has been spoken of, your essence. This understanding of the self, your very depths, it imparts a sense of who you are, the felt beingness. There is this same frequency to all things. And as your understanding sharpens, contrast becomes meaningless. So they're saying here that if we are able to understand things at this level, if we're able to feel the song of another being or of anything, then that is such a richer, deeper way of understanding things that contrast becomes like it's meaningless. As they say, that it's an empty way of understanding, that it doesn't give us nearly as much information. So why would you use it, right? It's like I don't know. I was going to say hieroglyphics, but that's not a great example. But something that is giving you a teeny bit of knowledge versus like the whole encyclopedia. So that is it. All right. All right. So then the next paragraph here. It says, this great departure in the mind of humans changes all things. It creates a world of difference that stems from understanding. If there is no need for contrast, equality begins, for all things are felt as they are and honored for their living. Right? So exciting. Sorry, I get excited. Okay. And that was the paragraph. So the next one, they say, and this is how it will be for some who pass into this new state of being, who feel their way to understanding, who touch a heart, and through this knowing, make conclusions they will understand and not compare and categorize as you have been doing. Yes, you stand upon a base of knowledge built for long time living. It defines your world, your technology, your education and materials. We understand this, and it remains for a long time coming, but not forever, dears. No, it becomes obsolete like so many human inventions. And you will rise to become something new, a creature more of feeling, who senses themselves within a world that resonates a frequency, and know each thing as it is made, defined by its own breathing. And you will sense it, touch it, feel it within yourself, and know this thing. You will speak its life, its very essence. So, and I love that they addressed, like, what about like everything, our whole understanding of the world, like everything that we've done in terms of how we structure our lives, in terms of, like they said, our technology, our education, everything is defined by contrast. So, like, we can't just like eliminate it just like that. And they're saying, no, this is a process. And I love that they describe it that it becomes obsolete, because that's kind of how things happen. When a new technology comes in, it gradually overtakes the way things were. So do we and will we need to learn things the way that we do now? Like, will education need to, they're like, memorization doesn't make sense if you understand everything by their essence, because if you can feel into a thing, everything about it, you don't have to memorize all the facts, right? It's a complete shift away from the way that we've been the way that we've been. But it also makes sense that this is going to have to be a really gradual transition, because everything we count upon, this, just the fact that I'm like Zoom, that I'm talking to you guys on YouTube, all of this is because of technology that's based on contrast. So yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to be a shift over a long period of time. So you're saying, Donna's saying, heartful feeling. Don't you love that? I love that phrase. You're saying contrast doesn't have to exist, right? I know you will speak its life. Yeah, no, I find this to be so exciting, you guys. I hope you guys do too. All right. In this way of being, there can be no subjecting harm to another being. There can be no hierarchy. There can be no subjugation. There can be no thought of leaving one in harm's way, for you feel them with your heart. You know their suffering. You know them as you know yourself. You feel their heights and their shadow. You know them, love them, sense them deeply. It is a difference. It is world changing. Yes. Right. So that just, I love the confirmation that yes, this is why it will be such an amazing transformation, a complete shift. Like this is what they're talking about. This is when we say, what is the awakening? What is the ascendance? What is it? This is it. This is what they're talking about. It's a shift in human consciousness, but it's not like just moving from one place to another place. It is about changing the structure of our thinking, changing the structure of how we perceive the world, going away from being driven by the way, and it makes sense. Like we've had to use contrast. It's like a shortcut. It's a way that helps us navigate life, like that allows us to move through this 3D existence. It's been necessary, but we're moving to a totally different way of being, right? So amazing. All right. This earth, it lies within a pattern that is shifting. It starts within the human mind. Humanity is shifting, and you are bearing now the opening, the changing. You are standing in a time of letting go and lifting. And you are doing well, dear friends. We are watching. You are doing well. You are lightening this world, and you will prosper. You will live on, for this time is long. There is much work to do. And I love that. I love that they gave us the confirmation, like, hey, we are making this like all of you, like the empaths of the world, like you are doing this in degrees. Like there's more that like, and they actually like later tomorrow, they actually give us like, this is how you practice. Like they go into that, which is really, really cool. But you start with like, you can start with what it is to be an empath, what it is to feel another person's feelings. You start with that and then try to grow it and expand it. And it's super exciting. All right, next paragraph. They say, you will bring this inside of you and let it work its magic. For knowing this within the self creates an opening where you can no longer be consumed by what has been the patterning. You will see it as it stands. You will understand it now as rhythm, not as truth, not as concrete, but as adaptation by living beings. Yes, the tools you have allowed because they were necessary. You sense in others what you are and what they are as well. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line there. They say, yes, the tools you have allowed because they were necessary. But as times change and as your bodies and awareness become more sensitive, you sense in others what you are and what they are as well. And this changes all your way of thinking. And this pervades all creation. It makes all things different. And how you will be your rules and objectives for humanity. Yes, a change afoot, a change in feeling. It is starting already. Right? How about that, you guys? Wasn't that an amazing message? So, yeah, I feel like it gives us such a deeper understanding of what we've been talking about all this time. Like we've talked about it in a lot of different ways, but this is a really different perspective. And it is about a shift in the structure of human consciousness, about how we understand the world that we're living in. And it gives us a brand new frame of reference. And it really is like we've talked about, it's about moving from the head to the heart. But this tells us how and why and what it looks like, what it is we're moving away from more specifically. I feel like this gives us such a greater understanding of what it is that's happening. So anyway, so next week, because I know this was long, and next week they go into the next level of this, which is about our karma. Like, how is it in this process that we release our karma? So super great. You guys are not going to want to miss it. It's so cool. So you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this message as much as I did. I'm sending you guys tons of love. Thank you so much for sharing this with me and with the Circle of 12. Thank you so much. Gratitude to the Circle of 12 for bringing in this energy. Enormous gratitude to both them and the Golden Circle. You guys are amazing. And I will see you guys next Friday live. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And happy 4th for those of you who are in the US.